This is Your Pain Game podcast, where we talk about the game of living in and with chronic pain and trauma, getting to the heart of how to heal. I am your host, Lyndsay Soprano. On this show, I plan on discussing with doctors, chronic pain patients, holistic practitioners, loved ones, and anybody that is interested in having their voice heard in the chronic pain and trauma world that we live in. For my entire life, I have always been a risk taker. Doing this show in and of itself is a risk that I take every single day with every single episode, with every prep, with every meet and greet, whatever it is that I do. I am risking because I am sharing things on this show to anybody that listens about the dark and twisty places, within my heart and my soul. And I'm uber vulnerable here, right? We know that. I am raw. I am real. That is who I am. And I have these open wounds that are still unhealed. We all do. I have scars to remind me of what I have persevered through. And over the past few years, I have had to rewrite my life story because it has fucking changed. I did not think at all. I think back when I was in high school and when I was in college, when I was free as a bird doing all kinds of frat boys or whatever the hell I was doing. My health has declined, as everybody knows, and I was given a wheelchair now. And I was given this and given that. And I say given in particular because I have looked at what has happened to me in my life and how I've been diagnosed as a gift now. Because I have more purpose in my life than I ever have had before. And I've seen myself in my darkest of hours, I've also seen myself in bright and spectacular places. And what I have done is proven to myself that I am resilient. I am accepting of my diagnosis. I am accepting of my past, my present, whatever the hell's going to come up in my future. And I have accepted my reality for what it is. And as my guest today will share, there are no excuses. There is only one path that we take in this life. And the one that keeps you moving forward is that path, no matter what kind of bombs blow up in your life. So today I have an amazing guy. Oh my God, I can't wait. I've been so excited. Who will truly show us the power of moving forward in life when trauma presents itself. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my guest today, Rich Ingram. What's up, dude?
Oh, not much, Lyndsay. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Oh my God. I've been looking forward to your accent since we got off of our meet and greet. Rich is a retired United States Army captain and also just a redneck from Georgia.
That's it.
That's it. That's all it is. That's all he is. He is a keynote speaker and endurance athlete. Despite losing his arm in an enemy ambush while deployed in Iraq in 2005, he continues to embrace life's challenges and thrive in adversity. And that is what we are all about here. So I am rolling out the red carpet for you, babe. And I would like to start talking about what happened to you in 2005. And let's take it from there.
All right. So the preface to that day is that I spent my life up to that point searching for purpose and direction, and the military gave that to me, right? When I first got to Iraq. So I guess I was 3 months in to our deployment when we got ambushed with that bomb, but I volunteered for every mission that I could. We were setting up sniper OP observation posts, and we were doing stuff in video games. I was living the dream, and it just emboldened my passion for this, right? And so that's the preface. And on that day, we were on a 4-vehicle Humvee patrol. So I was in a scout platoon, so we did reconnaissance. So we're southwest of Baghdad. That's called the Triangle of Death at the time, just for the, right.
Uplifting term. Let's head to the Triangle of Death together.
I know. Well, it's not a vacation spot. But and what's crazy is that area, though, is historically known as the Garden of Eden area, but it's where the Tigris and Euphrates merge.
Yeah.
Right below there. It does not look like a garden at all anymore. But, it's just like ravaged with gunshot holes and dirt
There
huts.
aren't beautiful naked women in a tree with a snake around them.
Oh God, I'd still be there.
Seriously.
Right. But anyway, so we're on this 4-vehicle patrol. I'm the rear gunner in a Humvee. And so this is before we had these large mine resistant vehicles. And so half my body is exposed out of this vehicle. And as the rear gunner, I have what we call the 6. I have rear security. And I'm 21 years old. I'm on this 50 caliber machine gun.
Your
feeling
baby.
Every bit of that power. I know.
Yeah.
And we all especially me, I don't want to speak for everyone, but like I wanted to fight because I always thought about everybody, soldiers in Vietnam, World War II and what they did. And it's just amazing. And so, I wanted, I guess, that chance to prove myself, right? But the fight did not happen as I envisioned. My vehicle struck, or an IED hit our vehicle, an improvised explosive device, roadside bomb, and it catapulted our vehicle into the air and sent it into a roll. And I remember dropping in the gunner's hatch. You're taught or trained to drop down, grab the radio mount, and try and hold on. Obviously, training is different than the real thing. And I just remember saying, lights out, say a prayer. And I knew I was going to die. And I landed, I hit the ground, and I was like, oh my God, I'm still alive. And
I look up,
I did not die. And I almost thought I was like, am I in another world? It was surreal. But when
out of body experience, kind of
my God,
thing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I look up and I see my driver is unconscious in the passenger seat. And so when I went to move towards him, that's when I felt something achy in my arm, because it takes a while for your nerves, to kind of catch up to what's going on. And so I took my right arm to feel for a break, and my hand just hit nothing. And so I looked down, and my uniform is just mangled, covered in blood, and my forearm is lying on the ground, connected by a piece of tissue no bigger than your pinky finger. So now I'm back in this. I'm going to die. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm not fucking dying in this country. And so I just picked my arm up and ran with it. And luckily,
I just picked my arm up and ran with it. Let's just take a quick beat. I remember that. I literally have it written down in my notes. I ran with my arm in my hand.
Oh, it was,
what?
What a weird feeling, right? Literally, oh my gosh. And I started kicking the Humvee door to wake up the driver. His name's Spottiswood. And when he came to, his eyes were just huge, but he got out, put a tourniquet on me, and we got an IV started. And I'll never forget, one of my best friends came over and held my hand because I was closing my eyes, and he was like, dude, I don't want you to close your eyes. This was hot as fuck. It was like July, 120 degrees in Iraq, and I was sweat getting in my eyes. And he held my hand until they put me on the medevac chopper, and he let go. He's like, you can be all right, man. I'll see you soon. And he was killed a month later. And, that's war, right? We send our young folks out to fight our battles. And so that's what happened that day. And I was flown to Baghdad, and that's where they amputated the rest of it and, cleaned everything up. And I just remember being wheeled into a hospital room on a gurney. And that's when I kind of woke up after being anesthetized after that initial surgery. And I just rolled over and saw my arm, and I closed my eyes and tried not to cry, because everything that up to that point in my life, everything that I'd done, all the purpose that I had found in the military, I relied on my physical prowess to spend my career in a combat arms unit. And it all came crashing down at once. And I just saw myself, was I going to be another homeless veteran asking for your money on the street corner? Or, I was back at square one. Now I had to reinvent myself, find a new purpose. And, all those emotions just running into my head. I'm here right now, and I've learned so much and changed and transformed so much because of what happened. I'm truly blessed, because I would have never learned the things that I have without that. that experience.
The power of moving forward is something that I find to be just incredible with you. And you're such an inspiration for me. And we talked about it on our meet and greet a little bit about how my legs are. We have a running joke, which isn't really funny, but I'm depraved and that's how I am. I'm always like, when I'm in my highest pain moment, I always tell my sweetie, go to Lowe's and buy a chainsaw, or I need a chainsaw right now, or it's a chainsaw. My mom asked for Christmas 2 years ago for me to never say that ever again. And I've tried very hard to not, and it's actually been a good thing for me not to have done that. But there are 100% days that I do not want to have my legs. I don't want to look at them. I don't want to have anything to do with them. I want them to be amputated. But I know we talked about that. And why do you think that is? Because I have almost phantom limb kind of stuff within my body, even though my limbs are here. And did you experience that?
Oh
The
God.
phantom limb part. My God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, that's the most painful part is you have the initial part is phantom pain, and now I have phantom sensation is the medical term, or was the medical term back then. And so, but the phantom pain, my left hand hurt worse than my arm, even though my left hand was missing. And
Whoa.
so, yeah, it's insane.
Shit.
And so they had to, so you have, I don't know how many tubes I had coming out of me, but one is, regular like Dilaudid or morphine or whatever.
Ooh, I like
but
both
then,
of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then another one is a nerve block. And so it's trying to deaden those nerves, or not deaden, because they never die. That's why we can still have that sensation.
They're just trying to communicate to your brain that you actually really kind of don't feel anything anymore, but you do.
Oh God, you do. Yeah, that was brutal. But what really helped me is the immediacy of returning, or attempting to return to normalcy. And when I arrived at Walter Reed, my mom was there, and she had my fly rod, and so fly fishing for me is just another thing that I had identified with. It's just always been a part of me, and so, anyways, at the time, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with that? And so a few days later, my cousin comes to the hospital, and he's like, hey man, let's take this thing out to the front lawn and see what we can do. And so we take this fly rod out to the front lawn of the hospital, and it wasn't long before I broke down in tears because I couldn't do it. And it was another thing that I identified with that had been taken away. And so Lawrence comes over and he puts his hand on me, and he's like, let's stay out here. We're going to figure this out. And so, I just channeled that anger and that frustration. And I just kept going, was trying anything, just releasing limitations from the way that I thought it was supposed to be done. And I figured out that I could use my teeth to strike, because fly fishing isn't like a Zebco. You have to manipulate the line.
It's challenging,
right? And so I was able to use my teeth to kind of pull line out, and then I could manipulate the fly line to cast, just releasing it between my two fingers. And
I feel like you pulled it. I feel like you channeled your redneck there. I think that's great for you.
I did, and I did in a positive way.
Absolutely.
But that was a pivotal point for me, because my view on everything changed from what am I going to do now to whatever it takes, I will keep moving forward. And from that point forward, I was 90 miles an hour. I want to do this race, this route. So I went and signed up for the Army 10 mile. And when I did that, I ran pretty, because it's always a good runner. And I remember seeing the sign up sheet, and I remember looking at my arm like, fuck, because it still had bandages on it. And looking at my legs, I was like, fuck it, I had 2 of those. So I did it, and I didn't do poorly. And so a few days later, I'm sitting in the prosthetics lab, and a guy walks in, and he says, Rich, you didn't do badly on the run. Do you want to be on my triathlon team? And I kind of balked, because I took Latin in 4th grade. So I know tri meant 3, but I always thought of Bruce Jenner throwing those sticks, javelin. I'm like,
you're telling me that Latin needed you to teach you about what tri meant. I mean, tricycle.
Yeah. Well, I was like, okay, do I shot put?
I'm dead.
like we didn't anyways. And so,
oh my gosh.
Swim, bike, run. And so I was like, dude, I'm either going to sink or swim in circles.
Right. Oh God.
But that was another defining moment for me, was saying yes to that, because had I not had I two arms when he asked me that, I would have said no. And the reason is because before I lost my arm, I was in a fixed mindset. And so this allowed me, because I was reinventing myself. And I always say that it was as ironic as it sounds, it was easier for me to adopt a different mindset because I was reinventing myself than someone, if they were just to say, hey, look, I need to make a change right now. Right. I was going through a traumatic, I was in a vulnerable position. And so, so the point is, effort trumps talent every fucking time. When I got to the pool with one arm, I was so embarrassed because I'll tell the story because it's pretty funny. What we swam in middle school was a Speedo. And so I just figured, okay, I need to go get a fucking Speedo. So I go to the triathlon store to get a Speedo, and they're all like these little man panties hanging up on the rack. And so I grabbed 2 different sizes, and I go into the dressing room and I try them on. And so I know that y'all can't see below my chest, but I have a pretty small waist, but I have a big ass. And so
I thought you were going to say something else, which would have been very entertaining.
No,
man panties hanging all over the place.
But so while I try these things on, and my ass, the first pair, my ass is just eating these things, but they fit my waist. But I mean, it was like Chippendale. It was so.
Welcome to being a woman, by the way.
Oh God, I know. I can imagine.
Yeah, we hate this. We hate it. I gave up a long time ago on it.
So, the other pair, they fit my ass, but they were too big in the waist. And so I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? You try these things on naked. So honestly, the reason why I ended up getting the ones with my ass ate, because I felt so bad if I had to put them back on the rack for the next guy that would come in. If anybody had seen what my ass just did to the Speedo, they would burn it. They would burn those panties. And so, so anyways, I get to the pool. The first time that I'm in the pool, the only lane that's open is one where like they took the rope out, and it's a double lane, and all the 110-year-olds are doing their pool noodle exercises. So I'm so embarrassed because I'm wearing this Speedo that my ass is eating, and I can't even swim in a normal fucking lane. I have to dodge all these buoys, of people, and fortunately, it worked out for me because I sucked. I was so fucking tired. I couldn't even do a freestyle the whole way because I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't been taught. And so, I mean, I had to bust out in a breaststroke like halfway down the pool. But the difference was I didn't quit. I kept showing up. I asked everyone, hey man, how would you do this? What do you think? How, like, hey, can you give me any pointers? I accepted the criticism, the feedback. And the biggest thing about the swimming part was it was just straight up fucking perseverance, because I had never been a good swimmer. Even after swimming every day, I still wasn't a great swimmer. I have one arm, and I say that I don't want to use that as an excuse because I got a buddy. His name's Willie Stewart, and he's a fucking monster in the water. Like, he is just like a machine. But anyway, so, cycling, I hadn't ridden a bike since I was 12 to my buddy's house, and everybody had to wait on me at the stop sign every ride that we went on. But I kept showing up every single day. I asked people, like, hey, shifting gears, turning in speeds, all these different things. And before I knew it, I did get good at cycling. And I was racing in these races across the country. I did one in San Francisco called the Escape from Alcatraz. And so oh my God, it's so amazing though. So this one was a relay. We had this awesome swimmer. She was a Paralympian swimmer. And what you do is you get on a boat, you go out to Alcatraz, and then you jump off the boat from Alcatraz and you swim across the bay. And when you come into, yeah. Oh, and look, you like me, they asked me if I wanted to do the whole thing. They're like, and I probably would have. I just started, like, I'd only been doing triathlons for like a year, and I was still kind of a weak swimmer. I mean, like, if you hit that current, buddy, I'd have been in the Pacific. I mean, you gotta and most of the time they put all the gimps right behind the pros, because the pros catch they catch the best current going in, because so they would have put my broke ass behind them. So hopefully I would have got a good current and gone in. But nonetheless, on this race, when our swimmer comes into transition, and so as soon as she comes in, me, the cyclist, can take off. I hop on my bike, and right when I start to pull out, my brake cable snapped. I had just flown from Atlanta to San Francisco, and the volunteers like, look at me, what are you going to do? I was like, fuck it. I didn't come here to watch. I did this entire thing with no brakes. And
of course you did.
I know. Well, I just figured like my because this was a team effort, and someone, because I was sponsored by Challenge Athletes Foundation, was sending me all over the place to do all these races. Now I'm on a team. My swimmer just dominated that. The runner's waiting on me. I didn't want to let anybody down, and so I put on I had on my cycling shoes, so I just tried to use those to brake. They had holes in them by the time I was done. But the point of the story is I beat 30 professional cyclists. And now look, they were doing the entire race, but still, that put me, by not having brakes, it put me into a different category of cycling, because I learned so much about turning at high speeds and shifting and all this that I would have never been able to figure out how to have brakes, because I was limiting myself.
Right.
And so if we can really look within and figure out what our limiting factors are, well, like, how can we take our own brakes off? And I'll tell you what it is without you having to search very hard. You have to do uncomfortable things. And what I mean by that is not just, I'm going to wake up at 2:30 and go run for 5 hours. But me, I'm self-conscious about dancing in public. All right, motherfucker, let's go dancing tonight. Like, but that's what I mean. I think
most people are embarrassed of dancing in public unless you've had like at least a bottle of champagne under you.
and no alcohol. You got to completely, and that's right. But that's really how you become free, is by chasing those fears. And you learn so much more about yourself, and that's how transformation happens, right?
Absolutely. There's no way, shape, or form that I would be in the place that I am right now without being scared shitless every single day for the past 8 years. I have been scared shitless. I have safety issues. I've got all kinds of stuff from trauma and blah, 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 blah. Everybody that listens to the show knows all the gamut of all of that. But man, oh man, I am just like you in the word when you said it earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt you because it was such an interesting story. The showing up is the thing for me. It's like no matter what, I have to show up. I mean, we all have our days. Everybody does. But I'm going with like 98% of the time, I fucking show up. I show up even though it's hard. I show up even though I have to cry, or I show up even though it's painful, or whatever it is. I face those fears every single minute. And I love that about myself. And I love that about you as well. And I love having people like you in my world, because we're a smaller group of people than we think. And a lot of what we're doing here today is to try to grow that population of people that show up instead of giving up. And because that scares me, giving up.
Well, and so, I like what you said about we're a smaller population than you think. But and the reason for that is because like attracts like. Yeah. I want, and so when we're surrounding ourselves by all these individuals that think like us, and we just want to make each other better. Right. Where you just tend to think like, oh, everybody thinks like this. And that's not true. And I mean, that's why I love motivational speaking is because you learn that. Right. And there isn't a clinically sane person on this planet that doesn't at times think, I don't care if you're Tony Robbins or Mike Tyson, maybe not Mike Tyson, he's kind of crazy.
I mean, Mike Tyson, whatever.
But there's not a clinically sane person. So there you go. That takes him out. That doesn't think at times, I bit off more than I can chew, or I'm not cut out for this, or maybe this isn't the right way to go, or has some kind of thoughts about pulling out of the situation instead of fucking doubling down and believing in yourself. I was thinking about this on my run this morning because I think it was I don't remember what song. I think it was like Carrie Underwood or something like that, country.
Oh my goodness.
But she said something.
You're running to Carrie Underwood. I mean,
well, it was actually that song Champion.
I don't know it.
You don't know? It's irrelevant. But she said something that really made me think about betting on yourself. Would you bet on yourself? Seriously. And that's the whole point. You have to get raw and be true to yourself. That's the first thing, because everybody all day long, if you ask them that question, they'll be like, yeah, man, I bet on myself.
Mm-mm.
Hold on. Go back to your house by yourself, sit in a room and you think this through. Would you truly put money on yourself to win every time? Because if you wouldn't, that's okay, right? You just need to change your mindset and figure out what needs to happen so that you will. And so, you know, that there is a disconnect there, because if you won't bet on yourself, okay, you just have more development, more work to do. But a lot of times when we're thinking that way, like, look, man, you put yourself in this situation 9 times out of 10, let's say, whether it's work, sales, however you're feeling, when you were in a positive emotional state. Now you're not in that same state. It's equitable. Your pains and gains are equitable. Everybody goes through that. So dude, just stay the course. Maybe there are some things that you need to change, but don't change anything until you're back in that positive emotional state. You just need to keep going. And you know, and that's the biggest thing. So many people, you know, they deselect themselves. If you just keep showing up, like, let somebody kick you out, you know, like let somebody deselect you.
Yeah, well said. Well, so you've done so much now. I mean, now you're an endurance athlete, as we've been talking about, and you're a motivational speaker, which sometimes sounds cheesy. But when it comes to somebody like you, because when we think of, again, like the Tony Robbins and all this, where everybody gets together and they get into big rooms and they spend a bunch of money and they get all jammed, like super excited about changing their lives, and they go home and nothing happens, right? I don't feel like that's the kind of motivational speaking that you do, right? You're not like selling DVDs of things that you need to do. You're raw and real and true and vulnerable and open, and have been through something that most people would seriously commit suicide, would give up on their life entirely. Losing a limb is no small feat. I have been freaked out about it, because something about my disease is that there is amputation that comes with it. And it's also called the suicide disease, which is just a really lovely way to coin how we feel because of the pain that's so high. And, you know, we're like, great. So I'm up against suicide and amputation. And that's what we wake up with every morning, you know? And I've got people in my world that have the same thing that I have, that do not have the mentality that you and I do. And then I've got those that do, that are like you and I, and we're fucking rock stars. And I am so glad to share the rock star seat with you, because there's no other way to explain you than that. I mean, quite frankly, in my mind, at least.
But you bring up a good point, though, about what that makes me think of is that we have never arrived, right? And what I mean by that is, you know, I'm never out of the woods. I mean, Robin Williams, one of the best actors. Now, he did have some issues, but committed suicide. And people, you never know what's going on with people, and you know, sometimes it can just overburn. So I just bring that up because everybody has to continue working on themselves. You've never just gotten there. Like, I'm not there. You know, and that's why, you know, one of the reasons why I run so much is because I have to maintain my emotional threshold. It's one of the things that just helps me show up positively in the world. And as soon as, you know, I'm not somehow stretching limitations for myself, then I can start backsliding. And so, that's how I hold myself to the fire and try and stay on point, because if we're not continuously working on ourselves, then we have to watch out.
Yeah, we do. And we've all been there. We've all hit a bottom, whatever our bottoms have been. We've hit them. And then sometimes we have to hit them again. And sometimes it's even a bigger bottom than before. But the best part about hitting rock bottom is that there's always up. And for me, I know I've caught myself on the floor in many situations where I was very, very close to losing myself, and very, very close. And it was people like you and conversations like this that come into my brain and go into my heart and into my soul and make me go, there's no fucking way I'm giving up. There's no way. There's no amount of pain that I can be in that will make me give up. Is it going to suck? Yeah, it's going to suck. But guess what? Right now, I am in a very good spot because I have been showing up for myself more than I ever have.
You are a fucking badass.
So are you, babe.
I just want to say that.
Yeah, you are too.
All of what we go through is relative. Like you hit, it doesn't matter if there's someone out there that hasn't lost a limb or is not in the situation that you are. The pain is relative. So don't
absolutely pain is pain.
That's it. You can't think like, oh, these guys, like, man, they, I haven't lost a limb or whatever. Doesn't matter, dude. Like the stress of in a sales job. I mean, I was talking to my dad about this. My dad's a physician. And so I think Harvard has done studies on this, but the chronic stress over time, I mean, that physically harms you, right?
Yes.
I mean,
like that's like all
heart attacks and so, I mean, it's real. It's just different. The difference for me is like, boom, there was an event that happened that caused my traumatic experience, but other people were out there. It's just built. So.
Well, you had mentioned emotional threshold, because I did want to touch on that really quick with you about purpose and mindset and process. I mean, I know we've been talking about purpose, we've been talking about mindset, and I would like to talk about the process part of it, because I think that I'm a very process-oriented person. I'm in strategy in my world, like not just for life management, but in my business and what I do. I mean, this is strategic what we're doing right now. I mean, to a certain extent. So with you and your business and that what you're running and what you're doing as a motivational speaker, you're talking about this emotional threshold. Can you just chit chat about that for just a little bit about what that means to you? Because I think that's a really those two words together they're big and bold.
Yeah. So, I use that as, I think of a road, a 2-lane road with a dotted line in the middle. And think of it, horizontally in your head. You are in the middle of that. You don't want to go outside the white lines, right? Or the yellow, whatever they are on the outside. You can bounce around in the middle. That's fine. But low lows are hard to get out of and high highs are easier to fall. And so what we want to do is just raise the whole threshold. And in order to do that, that's done by process. And so my raw resilience framework is purpose, which is the true motivator to anything, mindset, and then process. And so what I use for emotional threshold for the process is I call it challenge immersion. You need to find something that aligns with your purpose. And when we talk about purpose, we're not talking about this surface purpose, like I am a runner because I'm one jacked up knee from not being a runner. Think of if you driving out of the gas station pulling out on the highway when you get hit by a Mack truck, will your purpose still be the same tomorrow? And if it won't, we'll reevaluate. And when you look at it like that, you are now already light years ahead because you're resiliently postured to withstand those adversarial things. So that's why we start with the purpose, to make sure that we're postured. And then we start going into, looking at having a growth mindset. And the challenge immersion piece is finding something that aligns with your purpose and then coming up with an ambitious target. So we want a challenge. And so for me, let's just say, it's running. So, okay, I have a 100-miler in August. So August 17th is this 100-miler. Well, my training might be for 4 months, just specificity toward that goal. Every single day I'm doing something to progress me in a positive way towards that goal. Now, Yours doesn't. I'm completely an advocate for physical activity because there are so many, not just health benefits, but also, for me, okay, well, it's very time consuming to run as much as I do. So now what ends up happening is I'm intentional with all of my time. I have to sleep well so I can continue running the next day. I have to eat well. So for me, that's how. Here's a big kicker. And the reason why this works is in the way that it rolls over. So one, by constantly doing challenging things, and this needs to be added to what you're already doing, because you live a busy life. When you add this challenge, so one, it's connected to your purpose. So it keeps you on your toes and it keeps you driving forward in the way that is going to make you happy. But two, it's going to get you used to, you always got to fit it in. You always have to make it happen. And so it starts becoming innate that like, I get shit done, because you are intentional now with all of your time, because you have to make sure that you're progressing forwards toward whatever that challenge is every day. And there has to be a date. There has to be a target. And oh, by the way, you have to know what the next challenge is, because without it, as soon as you get to that date, whatever your challenge is, when it comes up, if you don't have something, you're going to be sitting on a high outside your emotional threshold, and then you're going to fucking drop. So there has to be, don't rest on your laurels. You have to keep working on that. So that's another thing. But what you start to identify in this process is that your pains and gains are equitable. And I said that earlier. And so when those, I hate saying negative emotions because I think everything has a purpose. But when those negative emotions start to come up, like, anxious or depressive or whatever it is, you start to realize, dude, that's just a part of the process. That's just a part of the journey. That's not going to last forever. Let's keep fucking doing this. And what you can say is, you can say, okay, hey, you know what? Tomorrow morning, I'm going to look at my process and make sure that I'm on track. Maybe there are some things that I can change. Maybe I do need to do a little bit more, make some more calls or whatever it is. But what ends up happening is that negative emotional state starts to lose its power over you. And it's no longer making the decisions. It's there. You identify what it is. And then maybe you write down, hey, here's what I'm going to do about it tomorrow to make sure this, whatever. And that works wonders, by the way. I'm normally always journal, and I say, hey, this is what I'm feeling. And so I literally will write down, like, I'm feeling like I'm not cut out for whatever it is. And then, this is why I think I'm feeling this way. And then what I just said. And that generally works. But anyways, that's the emotional threshold, and that's how you raise it. And so that's how you resiliently posture. So when these things occur, you're already ready for it. It's just another part of the process.
Totally. And I mean, it's a simple example, but it's like when a woman is getting ready to get married and she wants to get into her wedding dress. There's her goal. And then she gets there and she gets all yoked and she's working out and she fits into her dress. And after the wedding, she's like, I'm not doing it anymore. Keep fighting for the wedding dress, ladies. Okay. Keep fighting for those things. I know it's a simple thing, but it's something that I'm in the process of doing because I'm getting married finally to this man after 7.5 bloody years, but whatever. What? Getting married in Verona, Italy, baby. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I am going to be in the most exquisite shape that I can be. And one of the things that has helped me is all of a sudden I'm starting to get feeling in my feet that I haven't felt in 5 years.
That's amazing.
Who the hell would have known? All of the things that I've been doing, including this show, because I started this show to heal myself. And by starting it, I wanted to now heal others. And so by that process and doing that, now I am actually starting to reap the benefits of the work that I've been doing. And it is a grind every fucking day. It is a grind. You get it. The people that are like Rich and I, we are grinders. We are shower uppers. We are like, yeah, okay, I'm running through the field with my arm in my hand. That is what we do. And if you're not like that, poo-poo on you. Chop your arm off and hold it and run through the crowd. That is our only option, because the other option blows. You're either dead, you give up, you're sitting on the couch eating bonbons, watching Netflix, and you've given up on yourself. You've given up on hope and you've given up on life. And we are here to say, because we always do on this show, is we offer a message of hope. There's nothing but hope in this conversation today. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is just rise and grind. Rise and grind. I just made it up right now. I've never said those words.
I like it. I do.
I know. We should make it a bumper sticker for you. You can rip it off of me. I don't have it like trademarked or anything. I'm pretty sure somebody else has said it.
Yeah, that's all. That's all
But
good.
I have loved every minute of this conversation with you. And we are getting close here on time. So before we jam, is there anything that you'd like to leave our listeners with? Because you've given us a lot today.
You know, my biggest thing is, like I said, I think as long as we are moving, as long as we are doing something productive to get us closer to who we want to be. I mean, truly sit down and figure out, who do you want to be? And then, start making a plan to get there. Give yourself, some leniency, right? You're going to fuck up, and that's okay. It's kind of like James Clear in Atomic Habits. Whenever you're starting these new habits, it's tough. You're gonna miss a day, but be kind to yourself about it. That's okay. Just show up the next day.
Give yourself some grace.
Yeah, give yourself some grace. But the biggest thing is find out who you want to be, where you want to go, and then do something about it. Do something about it. You have to be raw and true with yourself and meet yourself where you are right now, and then move. Just move. There's never a perfect time to start. Ever, never a perfect time to start. So just fucking do it now. In something, it's like, a 5-minute run's better than a 0-minute run, right? I mean, it just is. So that is my guidance, is that you just, whatever it takes, just fucking move.
That is exactly right. Keep moving. And that is the only way is forward. So thank you so much for spending the time with me today, Rich. This has been absolutely amazing. I knew it was going to be a fun day together. You guys are exclusively invited to share this Run with Your Arm in Your Hands VIP pain journey together. Let's get to the heart of how to heal with you by my side. That's what we're here for. Welcome to the Pain Game Podcast. That's what we do. Let's connect and hear stories of strength and your grit. I am here to help provide a safe place for you guys. If you've got stories that you want to share, reach out to us. If you want to reach out to Rich or myself, we are available. He is on richingram.com. He will be on social and all of my show notes and all of that, so you can find him. Please follow the Pain Game Podcast wherever you digest your podcast content. We will be there. Visit us at thepaingamepodcast.com and follow us on all the socials. Thanks for listening, my little VIPs. Catch you on the other side.